video you're about to see is about respect. Respect is a core value of our firm. It is something each of us deserves here at Booz Allen, and is something each of us owes our colleagues. Respect is universal. It is not altered by level, by place, or by person. No matter what job we hold, what office we work in, what personal characteristics we possess, we deserve respect, and we owe it to each other. The most egregious forms of disrespect are discrimination and harassment. Booz Allen has strict policies against this type of behavior. We have an equal employment opportunity policy, which prohibits discrimination based on social identities, including race, color, religion, sex, age, marital status, sexual orientation, disability, national origin, or veteran status. We also have harassment policies. Our sexual harassment policy prohibits sexual harassment and inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature, and our workplace harassment policy prohibits harassment based on race, color, religion, and the other protective categories referenced earlier. At times, discrimination or harassment can be unintentional. Yet even when that is the case, it is still very damaging and contrary to our policies and core values. One purpose of this video is to clearly explain Booz Allen's policies against harassment and discrimination, and to show you, through a series of workplace situations, the kinds of words and behavior that can constitute harassment or discrimination, or simply don't measure up to the Booz Allen core value of respect. The video also provides you with advice on how to respond to and handle situations in which you might feel you've become the subject of inappropriate behavior. It shows you ways to communicate in sensitive situations and provides tools to assist you in your everyday interactions with colleagues. Please give your undivided attention to this important subject. If you have questions, talk to any of the people listed during the video, or talk to me. I can't stress enough how important it is that every day, every one of us at Booz Allen receives respect and shows respect. Thank you.
Booz Allen Hamilton is committed to providing a positive work environment for all of its employees. Therefore, the firm takes a strong stand against discrimination, workplace harassment, and sexual harassment. I'd like to take a moment to go over the definitions of these terms. By discrimination, we mean treating people differently because of a legally protected category such as sex, race, color, religion, national origin, age, sexual orientation, disability, marital status, or veteran status. By workplace harassment, we mean conduct that shows hostility towards an individual on the basis of a protected category. The term sexual harassment means conduct of a sexual nature that is severe and pervasive and that disrupts or interferes with another employee's work performance, or that creates an intimidating or offensive work environment. Both discrimination and harassment are against Booz Allen policies and core values and are not tolerated. Although the definitions may sound simple, discrimination and harassment are complex and controversial. They raise a host of legal, ethical, and political issues that are widely debated in society today. And for businesses like ours, discrimination and harassment pose many difficult questions.
Although discrimination and sexual harassment have been important topics in the workplace for years, they still raise a lot of questions. Do Booz Allen's policies mean that certain behaviors are never allowed? Do they mean that you can never have a personal relationship with a colleague? Do they mean a working environment in which everyone must always watch what they say and do? This video will help to answer some of these questions by defining harassment and discrimination, both legally and in terms of Booz Allen policy. Sometimes, people do not realize that their behavior is not welcome or is inappropriate. These situations can be difficult to deal with. To see how colleagues can open a dialogue about a sensitive issue, let's watch what happens when an uncomfortable situation develops between two coworkers.
Hey, I found those old reports from Europe.
Oh, good. Do they have the stats we need?
Let's check it out. Let's see if they match up. 22404. 22401, 22402, 22403, 22404. There it is. What's the next city?
I think it's Milan.
Milan. You sure that's right?
I thought so. I'm not sure.
No, I think it's... Yeah, there it is. Florence. It's Florence.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
22510. You'll never guess.
Guess what?
We got the call from Chicago.
And?
The follow-up work is ours.
Oh, Michael, that's great! I'm so looking forward to working on this part of the project. I've been thinking of some creative ways to solve the problem.
That's what I like. You're always thinking ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, really.
Let me see what you got.
Well, I don't have anything yet, but now that I know the work is ours, I'm going to type up some ideas.
I'm sure it'll be great.
I'll email them to you real soon.
Oh. Don't worry about it. There's no rush. In the meantime, I think you and I should celebrate. What do you say we go get a drink?
I'm really on a roll here. I think I'm just going to stay and finish up.
Come on. We'll do dinner. That new George Clooney movie you want to see starts tonight. It'll be a good time.
Michael, I think you're getting the wrong impression. I know we work together well and everything, but
What are you trying to say?
I'm really not interested in anything more than that. And I really need you to respect my space a little bit more. I'm just not into all that closeness.
Ava, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. I know that, well, sometimes I can be too personal. I didn't mean to upset you.
Oh, thanks, Michael. I didn't know how to bring that up to you.
No, I should have seen that you were uncomfortable. Look, from now on I'll keep things totally professional, okay?
Well, thanks, Michael. Thanks for understanding.
Sure.
Even before she talked about the situation with Michael, Ava intended for her actions to show him that she was uncomfortable with his behavior. In a situation like this, what should Michael have noticed?
As employees who interact frequently with each other, we need to be aware of how our behavior may be interpreted by other Booz Allen employees.
Here are some common sense guidelines that can help employees reduce the possibility of making their coworkers feel uncomfortable or offended.
Be observant of personal space. This can vary with person, place, time, culture, and relationship.
Read, respect, and respond to individual comfort zones. Be observant of both verbal and nonverbal responses to your behavior.
When in doubt, play it safe. Don't engage in behavior if you think it might be interpreted as inappropriate or offensive.
Consider the context in which you will engage in the behavior.
If you're not sure how someone will respond to a joke, a hug, or a pat on the back, it's better not to do it. Err on the side of caution.
Michael clearly did not pick up on any of the clues, the verbal clues, the nonverbal clues, and he was persistent and just not really thinking about his actions and the impact of his actions on others.
I think Michael was not taking the right cues from Ava. And when he was looking to make an arrangement with Ava, and she initially told him that she was not interested, he should have just called it off at that point. And instead, he continued to pursue it, and that's where he began to get in trouble.
At Booz Allen, we honor and respect everyone's personal rights and spaces. And if in conversation with a peer, Ava was still uncomfortable, she should feel free to take that to her supervisor. And at that point, maybe have a more candid discussion about what's appropriate and what's inappropriate in the workplace.
Communicating with a colleague about a sensitive personal issue is never easy. But in this scene, both Ava and Michael met the challenge. Ava spoke directly and honestly about her feelings without accusing him, and Michael reacted in a positive manner. If someone tells you he or she is uncomfortable with your behavior, here are some guidelines you can follow. Don't become defensive. Take the matter seriously. Consider whether the behavior's outcome conforms with your intention. If you do not understand the feedback, ask in a respectful way for clarification. Stop the behavior. Apologize. Do not retaliate in any way, actively or passively, and thank the person for telling you. Sometimes, talking an issue through with someone does not resolve the problem. What might be different if Michael had not reacted positively to Ava's request that he stop the inappropriate behavior? What if his behavior continued or even got worse? Let's watch to see what might happen if Michael had not responded positively to Ava's message and if his behavior actually got worse.
allergic to roses?
Actually, I love roses.
Who are they from?
Michael?
Michael. Our Michael?
Yes, that Michael.
Ooh, I didn't know you two were...
But we're not. I have no interest in him that way at all. We are coworkers, and that's it.
Does Michael know how you feel? Have you told him?
Yeah, I've told him. He just refuses to get it.
How long has this been going on?
Since I started the project.
3 months?
Yeah, I know. And I thought he was backing off, but now he's sending me all this stuff for Valentine's Day, and...
I'm really surprised. He seems so easygoing.
Yeah. Look at this.
Ava, all it would take is just one night to see we'd be great together. Oh, wow. I'm really sorry, Ava.
You know, I've been trying to avoid him. I've even skipped some team meetings. I could have really used his help on the firewall project, but I just didn't want to be alone with him.
Is that why the project was delayed?
Yeah, but you know what? In the end, it was just easier.
But that doesn't address the problem.
No. I can handle this, Jerry.
Well, I don't want that kind of behavior in our group, or anywhere at Booz Allen, and I don't want you to exclude yourself from the team.
Please don't say anything to him. Look, he knows I've been trying to avoid him, and if you say something, it'll just make it all worse.
But it sounds like Michael's not getting the message, and we need to make sure he understands. Why don't we contact HR and the law department to get some guidance on how to resolve the situation?
HR and the law department? Jerry, I'm fairly new here. I don't need that kind of attention. Look, I've been working really, really hard here. And I want credit for my work, not for getting somebody fired.
Well, let's not jump to that conclusion. All we need to do right now is contact HR and the law department for some advice. Just as our clients rely on us for our expertise, this is their area of expertise, and we need to take advantage of that resource.
I just don't want to make a federal case out of this.
That's not what would happen. Besides, my understanding of the firm's policy is that we need to notify the law department about what's going on.
Can we keep it under wraps? I just don't want the team to know.
Listen, they're going to respect your privacy as well as Michael's, and they'll keep this as confidential as possible. I've brought other issues to their attention, and they've been resolved successfully. Why don't we just call them and see what their thoughts are?
Okay.
This is the point when HR and the law department need to get involved. The main issue we would want to address is whether Michael has engaged in behavior that rises to the level of sexual harassment. Here, the behavior has clearly been upsetting to Ava, and her supervisor, Jerry, is very concerned. But would Michael's behavior meet the definition of sexual harassment under Booz Allen's policy and the law?
To answer that question, we consider the specifics of the firm's policy, its legal foundation, and all the relevant facts. Under Booz Allen's policy and Title VII of the U.S. Civil Rights Act, sexual harassment is defined as behavior involving unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and/or severe or pervasive conduct of a sexual nature.
There are two types of sexual harassment: quid pro quo harassment and hostile work environment harassment. Quid pro quo harassment means that there is either an explicit offer or implication that an employee must submit to unwelcome sexual behavior in order to get a career advancement, like obtaining a job, a pay raise, a promotion, or a positive appraisal.
Hostile work environment harassment involves sexual behavior that creates an atmosphere that interferes with an employee's ability to perform his or her job. For behavior to be considered hostile environment harassment, it must be sexual, unwelcome, offensive to a reasonable person, severe and repeated over time, and creating an environment that substantially interferes with the employee's ability to perform their work. As you can see from this definition, not every inappropriate comment or uncomfortable interaction meets the legal definition of sexual harassment.
Based on this definition, and recognizing that at this point we've only heard one side of the story, is the behavior that Ava described hostile work environment harassment?
Well, it may be. Let's talk about some of the criteria. Is Michael's behavior sexual and unwelcome?
From Ava's perspective, there seems to be no question that it's both sexual, especially when you consider the note that came with the flowers, and unwelcome. Would a reasonable person view the described behavior as offensive?
Probably, due to the fact that Ava has told him numerous times that she's not interested in pursuing a romantic relationship with him. Is it interfering with Ava's ability to perform her job?
Well, she has been skipping some meetings and has had some project delays because of her desire to avoid interactions with Michael. Is it also severe and pervasive?
Maybe not at this point, but it may become severe and pervasive without a successful intervention. After watching the scenario, some questions that people may ask include, how should Booz Allen address Ava's allegations about Michael's behavior? What resources are available to her within the firm? And what are Jerry's responsibilities as Ava's supervisor?
In dealing with any behavior you find offensive, especially if the behavior is not severe, you may first want to talk to the person directly, but only if you're comfortable doing so. But in this scenario, Ava has already tried this type of communication with Michael without success. Michael has not gotten the message and has not changed his behavior. Although it didn't work here, in many instances, talking directly with the person who offended you can be effective.
If this approach doesn't resolve the problem, or if for any reason you're not comfortable approaching the person directly, there are numerous resources available within the firm that are designated to help employees with these type of issues.
For assistance in dealing with sexually offensive behavior, you can go to any of the following contacts: your supervisor, your human resources manager or specialist, any member of the ethics committee, any officer of the firm, or any attorney in the law department. You can also call the ethics hotline from within the U.S. at 1-800-501-8755 or from outside the U.S. at 703-902-4900.
The important thing for Booz Allen's supervisors and managers to remember is that they have a duty to bring these types of concerns to the attention of the law department and should not try to resolve these situations on their own.
As you saw in this scenario, supervisors can play a pivotal role in addressing concerns of inappropriate behavior of a sexual nature. If you are a supervisor, what responsibilities do you have in handling a situation like this?
First, treat the person raising the issue and the issue itself with respect and dignity.
Be sympathetic and don't trivialize the issue by saying things like, "Oh, that's just so-and-so. He does this all the time." Or, "She does that with everybody. Don't take it personally."
At the same time, be objective. Keep an open mind and realize that there may be another side to the story and a completely different perception of what occurred.
Listen to the employee describe what happened. Ask questions so you better understand the situation, but don't turn the conversation into an interrogation. It's not appropriate for you to conduct an investigation. That's the law department's responsibility.
Be understanding if the employee wants to discuss an issue with HR or the law department directly, without you present. While some employees may want their manager to join them, others may feel that having a manager present can make the situation more uncomfortable and may prevent them from speaking candidly.
Contact the law department for advice and counsel immediately, before proceeding any further, even if the employee wishes to handle the situation on his or her own. Remember, the firm's policy requires that the law department be contacted about any allegation of harassment or discrimination.
Do not take any negative action against employees who bring these issues forward, or treat them any differently, positively or negatively, because they raised a concern.
I was impressed with Jerry's reaction because he listened, it seemed to me, to the cues that he was getting from Ava in that she did not want to cause any conflict being a new employee. I thought he was smart in getting the law department involved early in, and I thought he was smart in respecting her views, trying to make her as comfortable as possible. The other thing that I liked about Jerry was the fact that he recognized that this was affecting the whole team, and he asked the right questions. There was a question about her participating in the team, and he got right to the point. And so I was pleased with the way that Jerry handled the situation.
Jerry talked to Ava and talked her through it, tried to take the emotion out of it, and work through a series of steps where Ava was comfortable with going forward, and Jerry as a manager is responsible. I mean, there's no tolerance for this type of behavior, and Jerry did the right thing to bring it forward.
First of all, he listened to her and he assured her that everything would be okay. He also gave her some very great advice. He advised her to talk to HR, to legal, and really to do the appropriate things that we do in the firm to ensure that the right groups are involved and that our policy is upheld.
Yeah, creating that environment where everyone can be successful is very important to us. And our policies are in place so people can do their work and do their job and be successful. So in this case, Ava was slowing down her work, was not meeting deadlines. That actually can come across as negative on Ava when in fact it was the environment that Michael created that set the tone here.
Our legal department is very excellent and expert in these matters. They handle these situations in a very discreet and professional way, and also in a very efficient way, and have the ability to basically get the facts on the table and recommend a course of action that ends up being in everyone's best interest.
Human Resources and the Law Department work very closely together, investigating any concerns related to discrimination or harassment.
The reason we work closely together is so that we can get an understanding of what the issues are and why the employee has raised a concern with us. We want to make sure we understand what problems are occurring in the workplace so that we can address and resolve those problems.
To help come to a resolution, Human Resources and the Law Department work together to determine whether interviews need to be conducted with potential witnesses, other records gathered, and what facts are needed to help come to a conclusion.
Another important part of our process is reassuring people about Booz Allen's policy against retaliation. We take that policy very seriously because we want people to come forward with any concerns they have. That way we can address any issues in the workplace.
That's right. The firm is very committed to its policy of non-retaliation.
Hostile work environment harassment is only one type of sexual harassment under our policy. To understand the second type, quid pro quo, let's watch a scene between Helen, a Booz Allen consultant, who is working with Derek, the CFO of a major client.
I have to tell you, Helen, this is excellent work. You're going to make me look very good to the rest of my company.
I'm glad to hear it. You know, it's been a great project for everybody.
That's what I like. Win-win. You know, we're putting the follow-up work up for bid, but based on what you've already done, I'd say Booz Allen has the inside track.
That's terrific. The team will be thrilled.
Oh, the team's excellent. And I've been particularly impressed with your work.
Well, thanks, but you know, we have a great group of people on our team.
No false modesty. I have a parade of consultants coming through here, and your work really stands out.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say.
I look forward to continuing the relationship.
Oh, and I'm sure we can make that happen. Derek, have you had a chance to take a look at the changes we made to the presentation?
Oh, not yet, but stomach's growling at me.
Oh, you want to get some takeout?
Oh, I am so sick of takeout. Do you know I cook a mean linguine carbonara?
Really? You like to cook?
My #1 hobby. Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't we finish this over dinner at my place?
Oh, no, I don't want you to go through the trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all. Like I said, it's my favorite hobby, and you'd be keeping me company. My wife's out of town tonight, so I'm on my own.
Well, I appreciate that, Derek, but I work better in an office environment, and besides, I was going to take the shuttle home anyway.
Oh, come on, you can go back in the morning. I've got plenty of room, have some home cooking, got a great view of the lake, and we can talk more about that follow-on work.
I'd really rather just finish it here.
Look, Helen, I wouldn't want you to pass up the carbonara, or the follow-on contract for that matter. So what do you say? This could be win-win all the way around.
Derek might think this is a win-win situation, but Helen doesn't, and Booz Allen wouldn't either. Booz Allen has no tolerance for sexual harassment, no matter where it occurs in the work environment, and even if the offender is a client.
In today's world, the work environment is construed broadly. It can include the following: a Booz Allen office, a client site, a location you travel to on firm business, training sites as part of your job, Booz Allen email or voicemail, Booz Allen bulletin boards, electronic or otherwise, office parties, and work-related gatherings of business associates outside of the office, including at restaurants or bars.
In this scenario, Derek's proposition to Helen appears to be a case of quid pro quo sexual harassment. In quid pro quo, the perpetrator offers the victim some type of reward for sexual favors, in this case, significant additional work for Booz Allen.
In this type of situation, the harasser makes it known that if the person submits to an unwelcome sexual advance or grants a sexual favor, they will receive an employment benefit, such as a pay raise, promotion, or important assignment. And if the victim does not participate, she or he may not advance or could suffer negative career consequences.
The perpetrator of quid pro quo harassment can be a supervisor or, in this case, a client.
Regardless of whether the person engaging in inappropriate behavior is an employee or a client, Booz Allen does not tolerate harassment or discrimination of any type.
That situation is very difficult, and Helen may feel nervous, and we are very much into client service. However, it doesn't matter if it's a client, whether it's a colleague. That type of behavior is just not acceptable and not permitted within the firm.
It makes no difference whether Derek is a client or whether Derek is a coworker. Derek crossed the line. You could be a rainmaker in Booz Allen, a person who brings in a lot of business. We are still not going to tolerate that type of behavior.
I know from my own experience where I've had a situation like this, we responded by having a conversation with the client and talking about our policy of respect, and it's worked out very well. So I think that she would have gotten a very favorable response from the firm.
Sexual harassment is not the only form of inappropriate behavior that can occur in the workplace. Discrimination occurs when a person or group are treated differently on the basis of their race, age, disability, sexual orientation, religion, or any other legally protected category. As with sexual harassment, Booz Allen does not tolerate discrimination. To understand one type of discrimination, let's take a look at an incident that occurs at a team planning meeting.
So we are now working from a January 15th deadline, which is a Monday, right?
And a federal holiday, so our clients won't be at work that day.
A holiday, really?
It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Oh, right. All right, so Paul, I guess you'll be taking the day off, which is fine. Just make sure the rest of us have everything we need from you by Friday so that we can meet our deadline, okay?
Actually, I wasn't going to take the day off.
Oh, really? Okay, well, actually, that's better. The whole team's going to need to pull together to make sure that we're ready for our client presentation on Friday. All right? Jacob, I want you to see what you can find out about the parent company. Dan, I want you to follow up with all the subs.
What about their African operations?
Oh, right. Paul, why don't you handle that?
Sure. I think they have operations in South Africa. But do you want me to research any other countries?
Sure, take it all. The whole dark continent. All right? Let's plan to meet again tomorrow. How does 10 o'clock work for everyone?
Hey, how's it going?
Just copying some research data. Got to pull it together for the meeting.
Tell me about it. Gwen really caught us off guard when she moved up the deadline.
Yeah, and I can't say she inspired me to put in the extra effort either.
The dark continent routine?
Yeah, like I'm especially suited to do research on Africa because I'm black.
That really bothered me too. For a smart person, she can be really dense.
Like when she assumed I was taking Martin Luther King Day off, and how she all but said that would be inconvenient to the team.
And actually, I planned on taking that holiday off myself, but she didn't make that assumption about me. Have you thought about saying anything to her?
Well, I've thought about it, but what's the point?
Well, she should know how you feel.
Listen, I know you're trying to help, so thanks. But trust me, I've been through situations like this before. If I said something to Gwen now, she'd think I'm overreacting and that I'm too sensitive.
What if I said something?
Well, I don't need you speaking up for me.
Okay, I can understand that. But actually, I do want to talk with her for myself, because I think her comments are inappropriate.
Well, do what you need to do.
Couldn't hurt.
I don't think you're going to score many points with her for doing this. Or get very far, for that matter.
Creating a respectful and productive work environment is everyone's responsibility. If you witness offensive behavior, you can proactively help resolve the situation. You can get advice or coaching about how to intervene from a number of firm resources, including Human Resources, the Office of Diversity, or the Law Department.
Here are some suggestions. Offer support to the recipient of the behavior. Let the person who is engaging in the inappropriate behavior know how you perceived the event and what impact the behavior had on you. Give suggestions for how the offender might interact more appropriately, and contact a firm resource to get advice on how to approach the matter or ask that person to intervene.
Gwen made business decisions based on someone's race. She divided the work based on someone's race. She made an assumption based on someone's race. And that's not fair to Paul. It's not fair to Jacob and the rest of the team, where there could be others that were qualified, better qualified, to do research on the continent of Africa.
At Booz Allen, no matter what gender and race you are, we evaluate people and we promote people and we put them in the situations because of their capability, not because of their gender or race.
She's prejudging, and she is not using her best judgment as a leader. And in Booz Allen, it's all about the core values. And she is making inappropriate assumptions, and not only making Paul feel uncomfortable and put into an awkward situation, but it's also the team. And the team sees this. So that, being prejudiced and that type of jumping to conclusions really is not aligned with our core values.
Hey, Gwen. Got a minute?
Sure, what's up?
I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind.
Shoot.
Actually, I'd like to talk to you about some comments you've made recently.
What comments?
I'm not comfortable with some of the things you said to Paul recently about his being black.
What are you talking about?
Well, like when you assigned him to research the Dark Continent or assumed he was going to take Martin Luther King Day off. It sets him apart from the rest of the team by calling attention to his race.
Calling attention to his race? That's ridiculous. I'm just being sensitive to who he is. Did Paul say that he was offended?
I can only tell you how I feel, and I know I was offended by your comments.
You know what? You both should just lighten up.
Gwen, this isn't about the research or Martin Luther King Day. It seems like he's the only one you're being sensitive to. You didn't assign any other research based on anyone else's ethnicity or race.
That's absurd. You know what? You both are being overly sensitive. You have no idea the kind of grief I've had to take around here all these years. If I was going to take offense to every little thing, I would have bailed a long time ago.
I think your experience would make you understand Paul's situation even more.
What are you saying? Are you saying that I'm a racist?
No.
Because if you are,
No.
this conversation is over.
I'm not saying you're a racist.
Then what are you saying?
Look, Gwen, I've got a lot of respect for you, and I've learned a lot from you. But I was offended by your comments, and I think some other people on the team may have been too.
That was not my intention. In fact, I bend over backwards to make sure that Paul feels part of the group.
Maybe that's the problem. Do you think you're trying too hard?
Great. Oh, just great. So now what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to apologize for trying too hard?
No. I just don't think you need to bend over backwards to make him feel included. At this point, maybe you should just get to know him.
Okay. I'll give it a try. Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks to Jacob's skillful intervention, Gwen was made aware of her inappropriate behavior. After initially resisting, Gwen acknowledged her behavior and took steps to resolve the situation with Paul. When the behavior constitutes potential discrimination, it may be impossible to address without formal assistance from the firm. This is particularly true if there is a power differential between the individuals involved. Booz Allen's discrimination and harassment policies apply to everyone from the most senior officer to the most junior staff.
Whether or not Gwen's behavior rose to the level of discrimination is a legal question. What the firm, and particularly HR and the law department, would be most concerned with, though, is whether or not Gwen's behavior was appropriate. Here, both Paul and Jacob feel her behavior was inappropriate, so that is something that should be addressed.
Whether behavior is actually discriminatory requires much more analysis, including an in-depth assessment of such questions as whether the employee is a member of a protected category, such as race, but also whether he or she was treated differently because of membership in that category. For example, if a manager treats someone who is in a protected class differently than other employees because of performance issues or repeated tardiness or absence, that is not discrimination. But treating someone differently from others because of race or religion or gender or other protected categories could rise to the level of illegal behavior.
In this scenario, the team members work through the issue of inappropriate behavior by communicating their concerns to each other. Sometimes, though, resolving this type of concern is more difficult, in which case you should reach to HR for assistance.
Together, HR and the law department will help you work through an issue like this to make sure that inappropriate behavior isn't occurring at work. The bottom line is that discrimination or harassment on the basis of sex, race, religion, national origin, age, sexual orientation, disability, or any other protected category will not be tolerated at Booz Allen Hamilton. The firm's discrimination and harassment policies, which apply to all staff, from the most senior to the most junior, are designed to ensure that the firm is a productive and respectful place to work.
And by refusing to tolerate discrimination or harassment, we can help to build an environment in which all employees are free to achieve their best work.
Jacob really was an ally to Paul. Paul may have not felt comfortable enough to raise any issues or to talk to Gwen, and having empathy and having that skill to really understand the intent behind somebody's either verbal or actions is very important. And many times leaders, with Gwen, for all we know, may have a blind spot, may not even know what she's doing.
In this scenario, we see Jacob approach Gwen to provide her with feedback, albeit uncomfortable, regarding the impact her comments had on the team. At Booz Allen, we greatly value this type of interchange. It's probably one of the most difficult interchanges, where you have a more junior member providing sort of unsolicited feedback to the project manager or the supervisor.
Gwen had to take some pretty direct feedback from Jacob. In Booz Allen, we're a learning organization. We have to expect that we're going to learn from people all around us.
This video has shown just a few examples of behavior that is inappropriate in the workplace. Similar situations can arise relating to other protected categories such as disability, national origin, sexual orientation, as well as sexual harassment between members of the same sex. The important thing to remember is that Booz Allen does not tolerate harassment or discrimination on any basis, regardless of who is involved, and we do not tolerate retaliation against any employee who raises a concern to the firm. Managers, human resources, and the law department must work together to make sure these situations are resolved in the best way possible. The key again is respect. Respect for the institution of Booz Allen and its policies, and most importantly, for each other.